every time it rains, pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Just be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, then you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under that tree, 'cause every penny's from heaven for you and me. Time it rains, the pennies from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Just be sure that your umbrella is upside down. You trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, then you must have showers. So when you hear thunder, just don't run under a tree, 'cause every penny's from heaven. There'll be pennies from heaven, pennies from heaven for you and me. Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? You guys good? Happy Sunday.
How are you? The first service was kind of like quarantine Sunday, but here you all are this morning. You came for the air conditioning. I absolutely know that for sure. I am Maureen Hoyt. I am the Minister Emeritus of Granada Hills. I was here for 14 and a half years, starting in 1995, for people who don't know that about me. And it was a soft place to land after I left the pulpit in Westlake. So you got me whether you like it or not. How's that? So today, welcome to those on the live stream. We bless you for being here from a distance, although there's no distance in the mind of God. We know you're right here, right now, in the service this morning. So our call to service is called Lighting the Flames of Faith, and Wayne McDonald is our presider this morning. So we perform the ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from that one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. As Wayne lights the first candle, it is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle we light for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the 6th candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the 7th candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the 8th candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the 9th candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light the 10th candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives and for the space we hold for them at this center, and as Reverend Mike would say, in our hearts. And as Wayne lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone, including Reverend Mike, you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
There is one flame that burns in our hearts. There is one light that shines through our love. We light this flame with faith. We light this flame with faith. We find this light within our souls. There is one flame, one light within.
Join me with this opening treatment, and I invite you to close your eyes if you wish, and just know that there is that one flame, that one light, that one source of knowledge, that one source of knowing. And I know I'm one with that source in and throughout this day, in this moment. And I know right here, right now, that in this place of oneness and love, I know that this service unfolds perfectly. I know that our hearts shine brightly as we provide that light to others, seeking truth, love, healing, and beauty. And I know today that I open myself to new ideas. I open myself and allow healing to take place. And I allow all the good to transform this day, knowing that God is that source and light of love, peace, and joy. And with a grateful heart, I give thanks for this service. I give thanks for this community. I give thanks for all the people that are gathered here today and online. And knowing there is this place of love and light and gratitude, I give thanks and release my word to the law, knowing it is all complete and done. And together we say, and so it is. Well, last Sunday the center had a potluck. It was a great gathering, and many people brought their favorite dishes, and some of those selections were handed down from family members to family members. The common thread for all the great food starts with a recipe. Today I would like to share a recipe for happiness. Now, some of you may say that I don't need a recipe for happiness. Well, then I will ask you this. Do you have the ingredients at home, or do you have to go outside and gather items for your recipe? Now, a recipe is also a handy for a checklist to make sure you don't forget something. I remember one time I was making a tuna casserole. Please don't judge me that I eat tuna casserole. Now, it's one of those kind of recipes that you cook that you can do it with your eyes closed. You just dump it all together, you put it in the oven, you got tuna casserole. Okay, easy. Well, as I was putting together a tuna casserole and putting it ready for the oven, I thought to myself, you know what really would make a tuna casserole really good? I need to put some tuna in this. So that kind of reminded me that, you know, we need to have a recipe. And having that recipe written down, you're able to look and see what your ingredients are. And it's the same thing that's true about happiness and having a recipe, even if it's been handed down from one family member to another. With a handwritten recipe, you at least have the basics to start. Then after looking at your recipe, you might look at it and say, you know something? I might want to add something to this. Or maybe let's say that you're at that potluck and somebody else brought their recipe for happiness. And you might say, well, what do I want to add to that recipe? Or what would I like to take out? The Dalai Lama said, happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. Ernest Holmes says, let us waste no further time looking for the secret of success or the key to happiness. Already the door is open, and whosoever will may enter. Another quote is, we tend to forget that happiness doesn't come as a result of getting something we don't have, but rather of recognizing and appreciating what we do have. Aristotle says, happiness depends upon ourselves. My recipe for happiness? Well, I'll see you next time at the potluck. And to you, love, peace, and joy.
Every morning, my light keeps getting brighter as I wake up to the truth. Every day, I'm feeling so much lighter, and the world seems fresh and new. What I was taught and the way that I thought stopped serving me long ago. Now I'm learning to trust in the God of all of us. Each day I start anew, and so I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that led me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that will lead me to such sadness. Today is the day I walk away. Every day is the day I walk away. Every morning brings a new beginning. By the grace of another day to be here, and I awaken to the sun upon me shining, lighting the way for me to see. The things I sought and the way I thought, it stopped serving me long ago. And now I'm learning to trust in the God of all of us, of yesterday, and letting go. I'm walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that will lead me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the less than that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that will lead me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. Walking away from the thinking that held me for so long. Today is the day I walk away. I'm walking away from the path that will lead me to confusion. Today is the day I walk away. Today is the day I walk away. Today will be the day I walk away.
Wow.
Announcements. Practitioners are available today in the treatment room for a two-minute tune-up, and I know we have several practitioners here today. And we have a new one, too. I see Kathy Theodore here. Yay, Kathy. Sunday, July 7th, Youth Church. You can contact Jeannie Fox for more information. And while Reverend Dr. Mike is away, Reverend Nancy will be the reference point for pastoral care, and Reverend Dr. Maureen will be the reference point for admin. Summer Music Camp, July 8th to the 12th, and Summer Theater Camp, July 15th to the 19th. We would love everybody picking up flyers and spreading them out to the community and just letting people know about this both of these music camp and the theater camp. It's a great opportunity for kids. And Wednesday, July 17th, 9:30 a.m., Sangha with Vinu. Stay tuned for details. Contact Vinu with any questions, and I have her email if you'd like more information. Also coming up on Wednesday, we have July 17th at 7 o'clock, there is Tibetan Singing Bowls, and that will be facilitated by myself, Wayne McDonald. And at this time, please stand for the declarations of principles. And together,
We believe in one universal spirit, manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe that our faith operates upon a law of mind, which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life, in the immortality of the living soul forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the givingness of life to all.
I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I will see the light. And I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my heart. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I will see the light. And I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I will see the light. And I'm free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. Oh, yeah.
Yay! Thanks to Ricky Byers Beckwith, or not Beckwith anymore, but Ricky Byers, for that wonderful song. Well, good morning again. Good morning. Are you cool now? Yes. We have the air conditioner cranked up. I have my own personal fan here. Thank you, Mike Carland. I don't know. I woke up to pea soup fog out in Newbury Park this morning, and it was just not comfortable. That's all I have to say about that. So here we are. The theme this month is Practice Makes Imperfect. I'd like to see how all the rest of the people are going to, who are the guest speakers, who are going to work on this talk title, because I didn't like it very much. And Ernest Holmes might take issue with any idea of imperfection, because if our existence is anything less than perfect, then perhaps we have some work to do in that arena. How's that? You know, people often say, well, I'm not perfect, sometimes to address their behavior. And bad behavior, usually, right? Or doing something unscrupulous. But the reality is, Ernest Holmes would say, I am the perfect Ernest Holmes. Salam is the perfect Salam. Eric's the perfect Eric. Rosalie's the perfect Rosalie. and I'm the perfect Maureen. You know, otherwise, where does the unique and perfect demonstration of God in action come into play? So let's just get over it, and we'll say that everybody here this morning is perfect. Perfect in the mind of God, perfect in the heart of God, and perfect in the soul of who we are. And when anyone challenges that, you can tell them I said so. So, to do the great works that Jesus promised the followers would do, we must raise our consciousness to the place where we are able to see the perfect image and likeness of God in all people. This is by Myrtle Fillmore. She and Charles Fillmore created the Unity movement in the late 1800s, and it is a burgeoning movement to this day. So, I don't know. Are we all in that place of consciousness where we can see the likeness, spirit and likeness of God in all people? Maybe yes and maybe no. Religious science came into being probably a little bit after Myrtle and Charles Fillmore. But do I see that likeness, that perfection in everyone all the time, every time? Nah, I don't. And it's not to say that my opinion means anything to anybody, but I do have opinions. Sometimes it feels like the spirit in certain people is effectively disguised, and we have to really search to find it. But you know, ultimately it's in there somewhere. What I have to do is change my thinking about how I think about this other person and see if I can't find something redeeming in their behavior. I remember when my kids were little, and one time I told Heather I was disappointed in her. She puts her hands on her hips like this and looks at me and she goes, "Mom, you can love me or you can hate me, but I can't do anything about your disappointment." And I realized, I said I was disappointed in her, not in her behavior. So separating the her, the God her, from the action, I had to work on that a little bit. I did. So in science, we call it energy. In religion, we call it spirit. In the streets, we call it vibes. All I'm saying is trust it. Ernest Holmes called it love, and he said this. He said, "Love is greater than all else and covers a multitude of mistakes. Love overcomes everything and neutralizes all that is unlike itself. Love is God." Ernest Holmes believed in love and law, as the Reverend Mike shared last Sunday. And in the Hawaiian and Tahitian cultures, mana is a spiritual energy and healing power which exists in places, objects, and people. You go to Hawaii and you can feel that energy. You can feel that vibration there among the Hawaiian people. So we have a dilemma today in wanting to be informed, but not wanting to be terrified by what's going on politically, or going on in Ukraine, or going on in the Canadian election or the French election. It's all that stuff that we seem to be focusing on what's going to happen now. We're futurizing, and fear is always in the future. I've said before, it's never for my personal safety unless there's a grizzly bear in the middle of the room, right? So when we're in the future, when we're futurizing, it is about fear. And Edward Harriman, who was a American financier and railroad magnate in the late 1800s, he said it's never safe to look into the future with eyes of fear. You know, when he said he was going to build a railroad from the East Coast to the West Coast, people said, "You can't do that. How are you going to get over the mountains? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do that? That's really not possible." And he was one of the leading organizers and builders of the railroad expansion and the development to the West in the 19th and early 20th century. For everyone who futurizes, it can be terrifying. What if this? What if that? Imagine how it must have been for him when, at a time when the railroad development across the country was looked upon as an impossible idea. We know that from Ernest Holmes that there is no impossible idea, and that the God of our understanding would never have created a dream or an idea without the ways and means in place to implement it. That's just something you learn in first-year science of mind. I grew up in a town of 5,000 people in southeastern British Columbia in the Rocky Mountains. We didn't even have cable until 1958, I think. And when I was 12 or 13, I began to purchase movie magazines because I wanted to live in Hollywood or near enough to be in the energy of the movie business. I mean, I dreamed of it. When I was in high school, I was in all kinds of plays. I was terrified to public speak, but I could work behind a role, and I had great fun being in drama class. Anyway, it took until 1972 for me to move to Southern California, and I could really outline the circuitous way in which I got to Southern California in 1972, but I'm not going to bore you with that. Suffice it to say, the first time I visited Hollywood and Vine, I was supremely disappointed to note that there were no movie stars hanging around waiting to meet me. I mean, seriously, I looked, but they had all these stars on the sidewalk, so I had quite a good time looking at who was imprinted on the sidewalk. But the disappointment was huge. I'd built this up in my head that I'd go to Hollywood and Vine in Hollywood, and all these stars will be hanging out. Anyway, you know, my dad wanted to protect us when we wished for something special to happen in our lives. And he would say, be careful. Anticipation is often more than the realization. Now, he was trying to protect us, right? But after coming to the science of mind, I pondered this over and over and over again. And I realized that Ernest Holmes probably would have said, realization is often greater than the anticipation. Because in God's mind, there's no limit. There's nothing to stop the dream from being realized. Our idea of realization is often much less than what God, the living the imperfect life, has to do with us. If it's true that every experience happens for good, and when we surrender to that idea, we demonstrate accordingly. Now, surrender, bad word sometimes. You know, I'm not talking about white flag surrender. I'm talking about giving it up to God, surrendering it up to God, because the how of it, the how my dream is going to come to fruition, the ideas that I have are really puny compared to what I know God can do for me. You know, how we do one thing in life is how we do everything in life. And this may be the most difficult idea to embrace in all of our teaching. In fact, somebody at the break from the first service challenged me on that. And it would take longer than I had to spend with him to share that with him. But really, you know, that's who we are. Our standards of integrity show up when we do one thing and we do everything. And if we live by those standards of integrity, it really isn't an imperfect life. It's a perfect life. When I'm prayed up and my standards of integrity are firmly imprinted in all I think, say, and do, it's a given that my entire world changes accordingly. The unity prayer of protection comes to mind as an easy way to keep us centered in those moments of low resolve. Not the high resolve that Howard Thurman talked about, but the low resolve. You know, yesterday I had an experience like that when all of a sudden the helicopters started flying over my house, doing water drops. And there was a fire about 2 miles away from where I live. And this went on for roughly 3 hours. The cat and I were terrified because my house burned in the hill fire in 2019. Didn't burn down, but it burned pretty badly. And other houses in my community did burn down. But the fact is I realize now what PTSD means to some degree, small degree, because I used this prayer yesterday over and over and over again. And about 3 hours later, I'm watching a movie trying to divert my attention, and the helicopter stopped. And it was like this wave of peace and serenity washed over me, and I thought, this is what it feels like to live the imperfect life. This is what it feels like. It was imperfect for a few hours, now it's back to being perfect again. And that's my thought process that created that. What did I come to this earth to practice mastery over? Is it money? Is it relationships? Is it health? Is it creative expression? Only you know which one you struggle with the most. I can't answer that for you. But one of these areas may have dominance, but wouldn't you say that at one time or another, we've all been challenged with one or more of these 4 things? It's all about finding our spiritual equilibrium. Yesterday, I lost mine for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. When we're challenged specifically in one area, I have found over time that when I surrender to a greater idea of what God has in store for me, I am and can find peace. Everything falls into place sooner than later. It's all about me and my thinking that gets me into trouble. Each one of these areas has to have an ending before we can create a new beginning. And since everything that happens to us and for us is happening as us and through us, endings aren't bad. They may feel difficult. They may feel bad, but they are not bad experiences. It's what we believe about them that might seem bad. I must end my belief in lack and limitation to live an abundant and prosperous life. I must separate myself from a dysfunctional, unloving relationship before I can attract a loving and generous relationship in my life. And every experience that we ever had, has been created twice. First in the mind of God, and then in form. So we are the ones who have an idea of what that form looks like. Because the idea of Maureen was first created in the mind of God, and here I am. Here you are. You know, if we get a handle on that, we can lead the perfect life. We can change our own world in ways that we never dreamed possible. If we believe and give voice to the idea that life is hard and we'll never be financially secure, the subconscious mind can't take a joke. It says, yeah, that's right. It is simply the servant of whatever I place into it. So, perhaps we've so convinced ourselves we will never know the joys of right and perfect relationship, even when the imperfectly person shows up. We have sadly lost the capacity to recognize him or her. That person just wanders off, and that's the end of it. Also, how can we shift the notion that historically the people in our family are genetically predisposed to certain diseases? Or how can we shift the errant thoughts around the belief that musicians or artists or writers can't make a living at such frivolous pursuits? It takes practice, plain and simply. These are all structures of knowing, as Dr. Maria Nema said. I took classes with her at the Academy for Coaching Excellence for years. I never got the certification, but I still use everything she ever taught me. But if I don't know, as she said, that I've been programmed to believe in genetic predisposition or fear of financial insecurity, how am I to change that belief system? Because first I have to know I have a belief system. I can't change something I don't know that I have. And, we'd be very, very fortunate to have friends who love us enough to say, you know what, you keep repeating that same behavior over and over again. You're unconsciously inviting that crappy guy into your life or that crappy girl in your life. You know, we all found this thing called science of mind at some point. We did. It wasn't by accident. I feel like mine was by divine appointment. I'm not going to go through that story again, but I knew when I started to take classes that my life changed exponentially. I despised my first science of mind teacher. He told me I was cause to my own effect. What the heck? I thought, he hasn't been raised by my mother and doesn't know my history of parental and sibling abuse. After leaving class that particular night, when he challenged me, I said, I'm never coming back. However, I do make commitments, and I signed the paper that said I would be committed to 20 weeks, and I signed the confidentiality agreement. So the following Wednesday, I was back. Even though I didn't agree with some of the things that he said and what he shared with us, there was an urge in me so strong that I went back week after week after week until I understood, oh my God, I am cause to my own effect. You know, it took weeks for me to get that. Thank you. Anyway, I realized early on I couldn't go back and change the beginning of my life, but I could make a new ending. And we can do that daily. We sometimes do that hourly. We can do that weekly. We can do that yearly. Who are we and who have we come here to be? That's the question. Who am I and who have I come here to be? It's not always easy to stay in truth and take the high road when someone has done us wrong. But it's a good idea not to believe everything we think. I mean, you might not take anything away from this talk this morning except that. Don't believe everything you think. It isn't always easy to be positive when appearances to the contrary have us thinking terrifying thoughts. And it isn't easy to maintain our spiritual equilibrium when we'd really like to rip someone's lips off. I mean, am I the only one? I mean, seriously. No. And yet the truth in those moments of low resolve come more and more when we're prayed up, meditated up, and when we realize that we are doing better today than we did 10 years ago, or 5 years ago, or even yesterday, like me. Alice Bandy said, one of the hardest parts, she used to be the education head for CSL. She said, one of the hardest parts of being a conscious person is being responsible for our own consciousness and our own world. In practical terms, this means we cannot create freedom, prosperity, joy, and love when our mind is filled with anger, fear, regret, and fight. We can only create a new tomorrow when we learn to harness the power of our own thinking. Rein in the negative thinking. Look up from your phone. Forget the news, your diagnosis, and the opinions of people around you. Imagine peace. Imagine love. Believe in healing and kindness. Time is on our side. The light always banishes the darkness. Let go of the dark areas and look to the light. The power to create the future is in our hands. So Emile Zola said this, we are like books. Most people only see our cover. The minority read only the introduction. Many people believe the critics. Few will know our content. You know, so much of my life in the science of mind, and especially when I was here at Granada Hills and after I went to Westlake, I met a lot of really wonderful people in my journey. And they have helped to form the world in which I live. And one of those people was Matthew Fox, who built the university called Creation Spirituality up in Oakland. He's written many, many books. He's a former priest. And anyway, over the years I've been blessed with being in his presence on various occasions. And the first time I met him was about 20 years ago at my friend Tottie's house. I sat next to him at lunch, and I felt a little intimidated. I'm not going to lie. His brilliance, I mean, what he said at that lunch is forever etched in my memory, because I just felt like it was, if I had shaken hands with him, I would have felt like I'd touched the hand of God. He was our keynote speaker a few years ago at CSL's summer conference, and recently I was part of a soiree of about 30 people at Tottie's house where he also spoke again. And anyway, here's a picture of us together I found. It's amazing how I can find stuff on my phone that I didn't even know was there. But he said this about other people, letting other people know our content, who we are. He said, we need to eat, to be clothed, to be educated, to be treated with affection, to be played with. We require laughter, purpose, and healing. We need to be invited to stretch our minds, hearts, and imaginations, which are all infinite in their capacities, infinite and therefore spiritual. We need these things far more than we need 30 brands of toothpaste or 40 styles of watches. I love that. So this is something that struck me as I was reading what he said. Your mind, your heart, and your imagination can move mountains. You are the architect of the unformed substance, the God presence. And where you put your energy and your attention, it multiplies abundantly. This is how we change our world. This is what we do. So I'm giving you an admonition. Surround yourself with people who value, who add value to your life, who challenge you to be greater than you were yesterday, who sprinkle magic into your existence like you do to theirs. Life is meant to be shared. So find your tribe and embark upon the journey together. Your dreams are waiting for you to come true in changing your world. And as Emma Curtis Hopkins said, now go out there and act like it, knowing with God all things are possible. Thank you today for having me. And Jason, take it away.
I do if I knew that I could not fail? If I believed that the wind would always fill up my sail? How far could I go? What could I achieve? Trusting the hero in me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where fools and dreamers dare to tread. I'd never lose faith, even when losing my way. Which step would I take today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What if we're all meant to do what we secretly dream? What would you do if you knew you could have anything? Like the mighty oak sleeps in the heart of a seed, there are miracles in you and me. If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where fools and dreamers dare to tread. I'd never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? If I refuse to listen to the voice of fear, would the voice of courage whisper in my ear, in my ear? If I were brave, I'd walk the razor's edge, where fools and dreamers they tend to tread. I would never lose faith, even when losing my way. What step would I take today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? What would I do today if I were brave? If I were brave today, if I were brave today.
Thanks, you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
What indeed would I do today if I were brave? You know, I probably said this to you before, but Beethoven said that music is the mediator between the sensual and the spiritual. Every time I hear you play, I think of that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is our time of conscious giving, and I'm going to depart a little bit from what Reverend Mike usually does. Our blessed Chloe is going to bring the basket up for us. Do you know Chloe was born in this church? Yeah, she is. Can anybody else here say they were born here? No, they couldn't. But she was. She was. Yes, yes. One of the things I want to remind people is a lot of cash shows up in the offering basket. But the way in which, see, the administrative part of me shows up here. The way in which we can budget for the following year is to know what conscious giving is and when people contribute on a regular basis. And if you do put cash in, use one of the envelopes and identify yourself so that we can know that you are a giving and conscious weekly member to this center. And some of you might think you're already members and you might not be. So that would be a good thing to check on, just in case, to find out. Because when we have our annual general meeting, you get to vote. So today I would love for you to hold your gift in your hand if you brought something to put in the basket today. But just put your hand over your heart if not, and just repeat after me. Divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless. It is evidence of my commitment that God is the source and substance of my supply. I joyously contribute to the vision of this center, knowing that it multiplies abundantly. Make your way up.
Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me. Spirit receives through us. Spirit lives and breathes through us. Spirit lives and breathes through us.
I just want to say thank you, everybody, for being here today. I know you could be snuggled at home. Thank you for everybody on the live stream this morning. You are welcome wherever you are. As Reverend Mike shared last Sunday, we have people in Europe and England and Ireland who are listening to us on a Sunday morning and during the week as well. So there's fellowship after the service. Please come and visit with us and speak to someone you might not know yet and find out someone's name so you make a friend here on Sunday. Wayne, come on up.
Join me in this closing treatment. And I invite you to close your eyes if you wish as we go within and just know and recognize that God is that love, light, peace, and joy, and I am one with this love and light in and throughout all areas of my life. And I know that with this oneness, all things are possible. And I know that this center is that light, that beacon to this community. I give thanks for this gathering. I give thanks for all the good that I receive in this day. I give thanks for all the prosperity and financial abundance that is in my life. And I give thanks for the abundance of love, joy, peace, and harmony that surrounds this day. And I know that this community gives as it receives. And knowing that everything is complete and done in this service, I just joyously release and let go, knowing it is all complete and done. And together we say, and so it is. Join us for the peace song.
Yeah, please join us for the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth